This is where I normally look for turkeys and deer. Isn't it just gorgeous outside? And by gorgeous, I mean freezing cold. Welcome to my vlog. Join me as I build my company, create some cool shit, and share life along the way. Landing in your inbox every Tuesday at 9. Hey guys, welcome back to my happy place, aka my home office. Yes, I'm still in my robe. And yes, I decided to just sit at my desk and start working while still in my robe. The perks of working at home. Today, even though last week I said there would be minimal travel this year, I forgot to mention that that would come after 2 weeks of being on the road, starting today. I am heading to Vancouver this evening to go Indian wedding dress shopping with my mom and to get a lot of wedding planning complete. I am going to walk you guys through today my wedding planning strategy, the tools that I use to do it, and all of those fun things. But prior to that, I have my next oncology follow-up today. So every 6 months I see my oncologist and they do a surface check of where I had my surgeries a year ago, and we just make sure I'm in the clear. So obviously I have some nerves around that when it happens, but we're just gonna have a great day and expect the best. So here's to a wonderful Monday and to 10 days, almost 2 weeks on the road.
We're here for an oncology follow-up, which means Coco's in the clear. We're fairly certain because they have no new information. But she wanted to. Cool. So let's just look at this really well branded.
Who names this?
The psychosocial oncology program.
I definitely wouldn't have called them.
And they're like, guys, can we get someone to do some branding that just like, I want people to be brought peace of mind. You know, like a beach with a rickety old fence. Yeah, the cancer support program instead of the psychosocial oncology.
But we can at least work on the branding a little bit. Welcome to my gate. I have found a hidden little corner where I can comfortably vlog and not feel like an idiot. So we're gonna do that. So earlier in the vlog, I told you guys that I was going to walk you through some of my favorite wedding planning stuff. But then when I was at the doctor and all is good, it's like the easiest oncology follow-up because my cancer was like a skin surface level cancer. They just kind of feel around the incision, make sure nothing's growing back because my kind of cancer has a high recurrence rate. And every 6 months I go, but every 6 months I get triggered and am reminded of a really kind of like the worst time of my life. So I'm getting better at like not getting crazy anxious about that and like hating my life in the lead up to that appointment, but the anxiety is real. And I happen to book this flight tonight to head to Vancouver and do wedding dress shopping with my mom the same day as my oncology appointment because I have a tendency to try and, you know, make things not seem as bad as my brain wants to make them seem. So it kind of takes the edge off for me a little bit. Would I do it again? Maybe not. But here we are. So I want to actually talk about what it's like to wedding plan after you've survived a significant trauma or illness, significant illness, or illnesses, which this is my life. This is what's happening. So it just makes sense for this to be what I talk about. Now, I was going to try and make like top 3 ways to plan a wedding after surviving blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you can't really make these into listicles. It's just more heart to heart. So that's what I'm going to do. When I moved back to Ottawa last year from New York, I had been diagnosed with optic neuritis where I lost vision in my left eye, had crazy vertigo, massive migraines. In 60% of cases of optic neuritis, it's related to multiple sclerosis. So I came back home so that I could see a neurologist, get MRIs done on my brain, see if I had MS. Fortunately for me, I don't. I have to be monitored now, so my next MRI is in February. My next follow-up appointment with my neurologist is in March. Before all of that happened, before the move happened, I had survived cancer, had 2 surgeries, one of which left me with PTSD because it was I wasn't sedated for that surgery. So that's why my oncology appointments are particularly triggering because I actually decided to change who I do my follow-ups with because my surgeon that did that surgery on me, it's really hard for me to be around that person. So that's an added layer of stress that I experience. And so I survived cancer in August, and then in September, Mitch proposed. And so 2016 was, as you guys know, one of the craziest years of my life. And fast forward to 2017, we had moved back from New York. I was so sick. And so what does my brain do? It makes me want to dive into something big. And for me, that was the wedding. And we had initially planned to have our wedding February 18th to the 25th in Mexico. And now it's happening July 1st in Grand Prairie, Alberta, and July 7th in Ottawa. We're having 2 weddings so that our families, everyone can be at one or the other, because it just didn't work for some people to be able to travel and just all of these things. So this is what we decided on. But when I was first coming back, people didn't know how to talk to me. They didn't know what had happened to me. They didn't know how to relate to me. So inevitably all conversations would come back to, how's wedding planning? When are you getting married? And so for me, when you're recovering from a significant illness or trauma, your confidence is absolutely shattered. Your sense of self is gone. Your belief in yourself is destroyed. And you don't really understand how you're still alive, because for so long you just thought you were gonna die. I know that sounds really morbid, but the only reason I can talk about it is because I've been there. There might be people who are nodding along, other people might be like, whoa, this chick is really drama, but no, like that just was the thing. Cancer, potential MS diagnosis, at times not even being able to wake up because of the depth of my depression. Just a lot of things. So all this to say, people just weren't sure how to best interact with me and would ask me questions about the wedding. So then I felt this pressure or need to have answers. And so we decided Mexico, we decided February, we told all of our cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody that's when it was gonna happen, without having pricing for the actual resort and the packages prepped for everybody. Like, looking back, I can see that I was in such a state of shock and trauma that I wasn't being my best logistical self and didn't make the best decisions based on that. The people around me were also just supporting the decisions because they didn't know what else to like take from me. I was kind of still leading the way even though I was in such a state of shock. All this to say, there are some influencers who I follow who have gone through significant life changes or diagnoses and who are also getting married. And I can see it in their posts, the same feeling that I had. And it was this. When you go through intense tragedies, all you want is to feel normal. And societally, marriage is like supposed to be the thing that I most look up to. Just hold on. That's the loudest announcement so far. The thing is, like, when the dust settles after someone passes away and everyone leaves, or when you're told you're cancer-free, but you still have knee-jerk reactions to things like blood tests or going to the hospital or whatever, your like sense of what is normal is completely skewed for a long time. What you value in your life totally changes. For the longest time when we were planning this wedding, I would feel like, who am I to want to have this massive extravagant wedding, which it inevitably would be because of my family and being Indian and massive Punjabi weddings. Who am I to want to have something like this when so recently all I wanted to be able to do was live? And that's like such a tough thing to grapple with. And that's why even being in the midst of wedding planning now, I get these moments of sadness and wonder, and I'm like, how am I lucky enough to have the opportunity to marry the love of my life when there's a lot of people who don't get such positive prognoses after being so sick, or don't get a second chance at like living a normal life. And it's like an everyday reality that you're grappling with. So to people who might be in a similar predicament, or who are finding the wedding planning process to be particularly emotional or heavy or triggering, or that you're unworthy of having a day just for you, we're allowed to be happy. And we're allowed to take our time with this process, and we're allowed to enjoy the process. So we obviously moved our wedding from February. We would literally be getting married in like a month in Mexico. And we moved it March, April, May, June, about 4.5 months to the beginning of July. And I think it was the smartest thing we could have done. Only recently have I felt well enough to really start feeling healthy again in my body, Only recently have I felt psychologically well enough to get back to work. So it's just giving myself and giving yourself the space to actually have life happen and be in a well enough space to enjoy the wedding. Because that period of time after a diagnosis is done and after the shock wears off, where you're picking up the pieces of your life and trying to make something that resembled your life prior to your diagnosis or prior to that death, it's a long process, and there's no getting around that. That's just what it is. And so just be kind, be gentle, give yourself double the time you think you would need or your average person would need to plan that day, and really infuse that sense of value you now have for life into every moment of the days that you're planning. You know, like we're doing a very unique kind of ceremony where 2 of our best friends are actually going to officiate the wedding for us in Ottawa and make it more of a community ceremony instead of a faith-based ceremony. And then in Grand Prairie, we're infusing different elements to really bring Mitch's family into the cultural aspects of my Indian identity, and having Mitch's mom be up to speed on that as much as she can so she can make those cultural traditions her own. Mitch said something yesterday that really stuck with me, and it was, how do we use our wedding and how do we make sure our wedding is an opportunity to open doors to even more love from and for the people we most love in the world. And I think that's such like a poetic way of stating it. When you face mortality, or when you face the greatest tragedies that life has to offer, you're forever changed. It gives you a depth of understanding of life that very few people have. And so when you're going into a wedding, yes, you can be flippant about it and not really understand anymore why you valued this one day so much. But if you flip that on its head, it also gives you a deeper sense of value of why uniting with this person, in my case, who like I likely wouldn't have been able to survive what I went through without him. And like, I really do want to build such a beautiful life with Mitch, and we've already seen so many corners of life and extremes of life together that like we get to make it ours. We get to love the shit out of everyone who walks in that room, and I get to do it in the way that I want to. I don't need anyone's permission to do this the way that I need or that I want. And I think that's remarkably beautiful. It's hard to know if any of this was coherent or made sense, but it's just everything that's in my brain today after going to the hospital and now being here and going to Vancouver, and it's all so strange. And we just gotta embrace the wackiness that is life and show up for every moment as fully as we can, and give ourselves permission to let things be hard and let things feel weird and let ourselves be uncomfortable with the experiences that we had and are going to have. I think we're in the clear. But if you've been through the shittiest of shit and are planning your big day that you want to be so full of joy, here is your permission to let it be every shade of weird. Because this shit is bananas. Weddings are weird and wacky anyways and come with a gambit of emotions, but just like show up for all of it. Let yourself be an emotional wreck through it or not, and bring the love. Just bring the love. So now I'm gonna head to Vancouver, probably cry, probably enjoy and equally hate this process, and finish planning these weddings and make this a memorable year for reasons other than the ones the past couple years have been made memorable. Thanks guys for letting me talk about all of this stuff, and for giving me an audience to share this journey we call life with. Now before someone else interrupts me, I'm out. Until next week.